why was your reason for joining the military?
I joined the military because I wanted to continue my college education, and at the time, it seemed like a good idea. I could go join the military and then get the GI Bill and help me finish school.
The term GI Bill refers to any Department of Veterans Affairs education benefit earned by members of active duty, selective reserve, and National Guard armed forces and their families. The benefit is designed to help service members and eligible veterans cover the cost associated with getting an education or training.
How old were you when you joined the military?
I joined the military, I think I was 21.
21? Nice. How long were you there?
I was in the military for a total of 3 years and 8 months.
Nice. Which branch did you serve in the military?
United States Army.
Being a Marine and being in the Army are equally dangerous. However, some prefer the Army because you have the option of combat fighting versus working major machinery such as warship. However, whichever one person might choose, they both play an equal part in serving our country and each deserve absolute respect.
Joining the military provides full scholarships and financial aid to members who plan to attend college after they complete their assignments.
What was your job or assignment?
My job was what's called it's a 96 Romeo, which is ground surveillance. It's under the military intelligence umbrella of duties, and my job was to basically monitor any kind of troop activation. So if somebody was walking by, the devices that we had could pick up, movement in the ground. It could pick up magnetic, any type of like guns or anything like this. And the other type of sensor we worked with was an infrared sensor that could pick up a heat change. So our job was to monitor any kind of movement of the enemy.
A person in the U.S. Army who serves as a 96 Romeo is a military intelligence surveillance operator. They provide tactical and technical guidance in team area of operations, as well as assist in planning surveillance missions using maps, aerial photographs, terrain studies, and intelligence reports.
As a ground surveillance system operator, Mr. Moore worked with monitoring sensor systems. They helped with locating the exact locations of targets and potential threats by reading data from the ground surveillance system.
The training required for this assignment are 9 weeks of basic training followed by 6 weeks of advanced individual training where he was taught how to read, use, and maintain the ground surveillance system operator equipment. Being a surveillance operator has a very heavy physical demand and requires an aptitude score of 85 and a high school degree.
In order to enlist as a ground surveillance system operator, you had to be 17 years of age with parental consent or 18 years without parental consent, be a U.S. citizen or a permanent resident with a green card, have good credit history, education, and no drug or criminal history. Male applicants needed to be between 60 inches and 80 inches tall. Female applicants needed to be between 58 inches and 80 inches tall. No medical conditions that are contagious or inhibit training would be permitted.
When people join the military, it is a drastic change from their daily lives. They are expected to perform physically and mentally challenging tasks. All the while, they must stay loyal to their duties and assignments.
In a real world situation that we had a chance to be not only picked off by the enemy, but our own people could think, because we're so far ahead of everybody, that they might think that we're part of the enemy.
During the war, ground surveillance system operators were often referred to as pop-up targets as they worked as forward surveillance. Because they worked in front of everyone, system operators were more likely to be perceived as an enemy by the enemy and by their own people, and are therefore more likely to get shot.
Good.
Hello.
Hi.
You said that you joined the military to further, to support your college.
Yeah,
education.
further my education.
What did you study in college?
In college, I studied history.
Prior to enlisting, Mr. Moore pursued an education in history. His extensive knowledge in the subject helped him learn people's patterns of thinking, and he used his knowledge of past wars to predict the outcomes of battles and help him accurately decide what to do next.
Where were you stationed?
I was stationed in after I left military intelligence school from Fort Huachuca, Arizona.
Mr. Moore's training took place at Fort Dix, New Jersey, and lasted for 10 weeks. Basic training included both physical and mental aspects. There were about 15 to 20 people per room, and barracks were sparse.
Korea, and I spent 18 months in Korea. I was stationed up on the what's called the DMZ, or the Demilitarized Zone.
The Korean Demilitarized Zone is a highly militarized strip of land running across the Korean peninsula. During the Cold War, the two superpowers, the United States and the Soviet Union, failed to meet ends and create an independent, unified Korea. Therefore, the Korean War from the 1950s to 1953 left the two Koreas separated by the Demilitarized Zone, which was created by the 1953 armistice between the two Koreas. The currently 60-year-long war never ended since no peace treaty was signed.
South Korea right here, and there's North Korea right here, and in the middle there's a thing called the military demarcation line, and my job was to put sensors along that line right there in case anybody from North Korea tried to infiltrate South Korea.
The military demarcation line, sometimes referred to as the Armistice Line, is the 154-mile-long land border of demarcation line between North Korea and South Korea. On either side of the line is the Korean Demilitarized Zone, or the DMZ.
So my job was to record and analyze the activations along that MDL, which was inside the DMZ. And so every time you would go into the DMZ, you would have to chamber rounds, and you have your grenades, and you were ready for combat in the military when we went to war. And so I was supposed to get out on, I was supposed to get out in 1991, and I got involuntary extended because of the war in the Gulf. And what that meant was, because my job was a critical job in MOS, which is the name for your job in the military, I got involuntary extended. So the day I was supposed to get out, I wasn't able to get out. I was involuntary extended for an additional, I think it was an additional year.
When a person is in the military, their duties aren't always finished when they want to. Mr. Moore was supposed to get released after years of service. However, he was still needed to perform more tasks. Mr. Moore was kept for involuntary stay. He planned to serve until 1991, but on that day that he was supposed to go home, he was told that he would have to stay and serve for another year because due to the war in the Gulf, the military had an insufficient amount of ground surveillance operators and his assignment was critical. In early August of 1990, Saddam Hussein invaded and occupied Kuwait, which alarmed Arab powers. Arab powers called the United States and other Western nations to intervene. Hussein defied the UN Security Council's demand to withdraw from Kuwait in 1991, and so the Persian Gulf War began with a US-led air offense known as Operation A Desert Storm. This led to an involuntary extension for many people.
So how did your perspective change before and after your experience?
Let's see. My perspective changed when I went in because it was a very humbling experience. You know, you go from thinking you're one way as a civilian, and next thing you know, you're the same as everybody. You know, whether it be black, Asian, white, Mexican, Hispanic. You know, you realize real fast that everybody bleeds the same color, and in the military, that color is green.
Fact 15. How did your enrollment in the war help you with your life today? Working as a ground surveillance systems operator requires the ability to concentrate for long periods of time, the ability to take note of your surroundings or conditions in order to make good decisions on the spot, and requires someone to have a high note of self-confidence and motivation in order to be sure about his or her decisions. Throughout his time as a ground surveillance system operator, Mr. Moore learned and expanded on these skills that he still uses in his everyday life.
What was the most memorable moment in your military career?
My most memorable moment in my military career was when I was able to recover some lost equipment that was inside the DMZ, which resulted in me getting an award, an Army Achievement Medal, and that was one of the many memorable moments, but that's one that sticks out.
The Army Achievement Medal, AAM, is granted to personnel for a standing achievement or meritorious service not of a nature that merits the Commendation Medal.